In 1878, a dozen years after her maiden voyage, the D.A. von Valkenburg was improved and retrofitted with new decks. Then, 2 years later, overhauled, rewarding her 14 years of excellent service and maintenance. These structural improvements couldn't have come any sooner, as she would soon be put to test. Caught in the Alpina gale on October 16, 1880, the D.A. von Valkenburg was run aground into Whitefish Bay. She was demasted by the impact and the storm. She was then recovered and repaired, having survived the storm that devastated the Great Lakes.
Ye heard of seasickness, but that day the sea got sick of us. Arr!
It would be a strange quirk of fate that would see her return there a second time. Not quite 1 year later, in mid-September of 1881, the von Valkenburg, loaded with 30,000 bushels of corn, sailed from Chicago, bound for Buffalo, New York. On Thursday the 15th, she sailed into a storm, relying on compass headings that were later blamed for drifting the doomed vessel off course, putting her just a few miles away from the previous year's Whitefish Bay foundering. Running aground onto the rocks again, this time at Whitefish Point, the crew of 9 scrambled into the yawl and waited therein for calmer seas before hoping to row ashore. The large waves capsized the small lifeboat and all the men within it. Unable to fight the waves, the crew were dashed upon the rocks before being swept back out into open waters. Only Thomas Breen survived, waking like Gulliver the next morning on the shore, surrounded by containers of corn strewn for miles along the shoreline from the broken and lost ship. When the storm subsided, Jacksonport residents were able to recover much of the lost grain for their own use, giving them a free bounty of food through the winter of 1881-1882.
There were so many choices that winter. Corn chowder, cornbread, creamed corn. Couldn't find any corned beef for some reason, though. Arr.